Hi, and welcome to my channel, Laura's Library Card. So today's video is all about 2024 and the reading year we are leaving behind. I'm going to try to cram a lot into this video, so feel free to check out the timestamps down below. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about my crunchy reading stats, some of my overall thoughts for the year, and some sort of commentary on that, review some of my goals that I set for 2024, and some of my standout titles that I read, 2025 plans. It's just going to be a whole shebang, the whole thing. Check out the timestamps below. But let's just start with the stats for my reading year. So ultimately in 2024, I finished 112 books, which came out to a total of 36,514 pages by my own calculations, so take that with a grain of salt. I DNF'd 14 books this year, and that is actually down from 2023 when I DNF'd 24, and I reread 7 titles. The average length, according to Goodreads, is right about 302 pages. And I think that's probably accurate based on the amount of graphic novels and manga and stuff that I read earlier this year. I think that pulled that down. And my average rating was a 3.5 out of 5, which is also a smidgen lower than last year. And I will say that for me, a 5-star read is top tier, best of, life-altering, amazing book. And so most of my books get oh, that was good. That was a 3. That to me is what makes sense and how I use my rating system. So overall, I felt like the year was good, was mid to good. I felt like I had a strong start in January. That was actually my average highest rated book of the month of the year, and then I actually kind of course corrected a little too strongly, and I had my lowest average ratings of the year, and also some of my fewest books of the whole year, and then I kind of evened out over the course of the rest of the year. And in May, June, and July, I actually participated in 3 different readathons. I participated in the Galactic-a-thon in May, which was all about science fiction and had a really cool premise and was full of really cool people, so I had a good time doing that. And then I participated in the Amazing Readathon in June, which was super fun, very adventurous, very fast-paced, great community, and that was my highest page count of the year in that month because I was just trying to cram in so much, and I had a great time. And then I participated in the Tarot Readathon in July, which I really enjoyed tarot, and it has yet to ever make it a consistent practice in my life, pulling tarot cards, so I had a fun time kind of interpreting that. And I could tell by the end of July I was really needing to slow down, or not to slow down, but to take a break. I was reaching a slump. I was reaching a slumpy danger zone, and so I took a little bit of a break in August and just kind of did some rereads and let myself relax a little bit. And then I think my fourth quarter, September through the end of the year, last third, was pretty good. I did realize that I was a little harsher in the last chunk of the year, but I also think I read some good books. In real life, I participate in 2 book clubs. The one that is me and a bunch of old people, or a few old people, were mostly books that I selected. I just kind of got elected to be the person to make those decisions, and I think I selected 11 out of 12 of the books. And even though I ultimately ended up DNFing 4 out of the 12 books, so that's a third of them, I felt like overall my ratings were fairly good in that book club, and there were a couple of titles that I felt kind of stood out. And then for my real life book club, which is a cool group of comic ladies, I only had 1 DNF, and for the most part, the rest of it was pretty okay. I think that I personally still am adjusting and figuring out what I want out of sequential art, graphic novels, comics, etc. And I sort of tend to lean toward feeling underwhelmed with a lot of the titles that I read. So that's something that I would like to improve, I guess, or sort of understand a little bit better about sequential art, because I generally am kind of underwhelmed. And that's a me thing. I know that. I also keep a personal book journal, and I started one in 2024, and I really ambitiously was I'm gonna do collages and print out photos and stuff, because I am not very artistic. And I did have a good start of the book and was really motivated and having fun doing it. And then as I got more and more involved in those readathons that I already mentioned, I had more and more books that I was reading and less time on my hands. So I am pleased with the spreads that I did, especially the spreads for some of those readathons. But then I really hit a wall. Like I was nearing slumpy feelings for books, and I just literally stopped putting stuff into my book journal, and so I really ultimately fell behind, and I've been playing catch up in just the last couple of months, and that was not really the point of the book journal because I want to keep track of my thoughts as I go and as I read the books. And so I'm going to be keeping a book journal in 2025, but I'm going to make a lot more efforts to keep it simple and to allow myself the freedom to take as much room up as I want. If I absolutely loved a book, I'm going to do a collage, going to have fun, going to write a ton about it. But if it's something that I didn't really care about, a couple sentences is actually fine. I don't need to force myself to try to come up with a lot to write. But I'm going to take things a little easy for myself for my book journal for 2025. Before I talk about goals, both reflecting and future plans, I do want to kind of throw out a couple of standout titles that I read in 2024. I'm not going to go into any detail whatsoever or ratings or anything on any of these titles. I just wanted to toss out some names, and these are some of the things that I felt jumped out at me when I was skimming through my own list. I realized that I'm kind of a basic bitch because I read a lot of popular titles and I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun reading Fourth Wing by Rebecca Garros. I've been thinking about rereading it. I never actually continued on with Iron Flame. I think I would reread Fourth Wing and then maybe continue. I read Bride by Allie Hazelwood and had a good time. I also read Funny Story by Emily Henry and Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross and had a good time with both of those, slightly less than the first two. I read 2 Abby Jimenez books this year that I really liked. I read a couple of titles by Tal Bauer that is not a new to me author, but I enjoy all of his works. I tried Brandon Sanderson for the first time this year. I thought it was, fine to good. I tried Elsie Silver, which was, mid for me. So I am going to start keeping better track consistently of when an author is a new to me author for next year. I did not calculate that for 2024. Other standouts were that I read Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young, and I read the Spider's Mate trilogy by Tiffany Roberts, which was a fun time and kind of different from most of the alien romance I've read. And 2 of my favorite book club books throughout the year were Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll. And I would say probably if I was forced to declare one official favorite of the year, it would be Beartown by Frederick Bachman, which maybe has a little bit of a recency bias, but it was something that I really was moved by. And it's not a huge surprise because I've loved Frederick Bachman before. So that's definitely going to be something that I reread in the future and was a standout for this year. I also had a couple rereads that I enjoyed, like Wolfsong by TJ Klune, and I reread the first book of Outlander by Diana Gabaldon because I was on a podcast that was Ready to Be Romanced, and that was a fun experience because I was reading it so closely and kind of taking notes and watching the first season as well. So that was a fun time. Now, I had to go back and watch my old video to see if I had officially declared any goals or plans for 2024, and I talked about my only hard and fast or quantitative goal for 2024 had been that I was setting my Goodreads goal at 52, which was easily something I thought I could accomplish. And that's because in 2023, I was not thrilled with Goodreads constantly telling me that I was behind. And so for 2024, I set it at 52. And then midway through the year, shortly before I accomplished that, I bumped it up. And I did that a couple times. I think 100 is probably about my normal or my average. And I accomplished my goal of setting it at 52. I also had a goal of keep mood reading and keep DNFing, which I feel like I basically did. When I get involved in readathons, I tend to try to make a little bit more of a dedicated TBR, and some of my mood reading kind of goes out the window just based on me trying to complete prompts and earn points and that kind of thing. But most of my reading throughout the year is either for a book club or it's my own mood reading. I don't have a huge, big, long list of stuff that I'm constantly trying to work at. And I did DNF 14 titles this year, which was down from the year before, but was still pretty, I think, okay about DNFing things for the most part. I had a goal of reading or finding at least 3 5-star reads or like top books of all time, and I would say I didn't quite accomplish that, which is not something I could have like accomplished or failed at, but it was a goal or a dream, I guess, for 2024. And for the most part, I felt like most of my books were pretty like mid to good, so I have a lot of 4-star reads, but only maybe like one, which was Beartown, that I would consider a top new 5-star read. And the last goal that I mentioned that I wanted for 2024 was to increase my genre diversity with regards to nonfiction, translated works, and poetry. And I did not do that. I literally DNF'd the only nonfiction book that I read this whole year and didn't pick up any poetry, or at least any poetry books. I think I might have read 1 or 2 random poems in the wild. And I know that Beartown was translated, but otherwise, not something I tracked for 2024. So what are my goals and thoughts and plans and feelings about 2025? I have again set my Goodreads goal at 52, and I think that is, again, accomplishable because of the volume that I typically read at. However, I will say my goal is not to read less per se, but I think I would like to be a little bit more deliberate about my choices. I tend to want to read, I'll be finishing one book and I will want an audiobook, and then I just kind of pick something at random. Something that's usually on my TBR, but there's a big recency bias, and there's a bias for whatever is immediately available through my library cards. And so sometimes I read a book that I'm like not terribly interested in. So I think something I might do is kind of sit down and make a list of books that I really am like highly anticipating. I'm going to kind of combine this with my next goal, which was read highly anticipated books. I feel that there's a number of books that I have seen throughout the years, like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue or Red Rising, or like books that maybe are ones that I saw but just wasn't interested in at the time or couldn't get a hold of. And so I think that there's books like that I want to kind of finally get around to that were maybe really popular, or ones that I have always been meaning to read but never have gotten to. I would like to maybe have a list like that on hand, and I can refer to that list for whenever I'm like, I need a new audiobook. So I would like to read more deliberately. I think I could accomplish at least 52 books. I want to read sort of highly anticipated books. I want to DNF books a little bit faster. Maybe if I'm getting that 3-star vibe midway, I think I can probably call it a lot of times, unless I just want to spend more time looking for the like stronger books, in my opinion. And then again, I want to increase genre diversity, and my goal is to specifically read at least 3 nonfiction titles, at least 1 poetry title, something translated, maybe a collection of essays, a collection of short stories. I have a couple friends who do well about reading that. I have one of my best friends in real life, like she's read mostly nonfiction this last year and has read lots of poetry and essays and short stories. And so I think I'm going to get some recommendations from her, and that's my goal for 2025, is to make sure I account for some of those. And yeah, I don't want to set any more goals about reading, and that's kind of a summary of everything. Oh, I will say, last thing I wanted to say about 2025 is my YouTube content. I've thought a little bit about YouTube over the course of 2024. I had times when I was sort of very regularly scheduled videos, and there was times when I just like disappeared for 2 or 3 months. Ultimately, in 2024, I published or put out 22 videos, and I think that's fine. It's not amazing. And I think that's something I would like to do, which I know are not the most popular format of videos, but I think what I'd like to do is I'd basically just like to put out videos of the books that I finished this year, just like little individual short book reviews. Here's my thoughts and feelings, and I have a short video, and they go up when they go up because it's when I finish the book. And to me, ostensibly, that means I could have like 100 videos, depending on how many books I read this year. But I'm not going to officially declare that that's the only thing I'm going to do for 2025. I think vlogs can be really fun, and it might be something that I pick up, and I don't want to limit myself too much. But instead of putting together monthly wrap-ups that nobody watches, or vlogs that nobody watches. I think I'm just going to do the individual book reviews, and we shall see if I do anything further than that. I would love to hear down in the comments anything about your 2024 titles or your books, or if you had a favorite book of the year that was much more definitive than myself. I think that probably most readers will have 2 or 3 or 4, because I think it's really hard to declare just one. But if you have something that you think was amazing that you read in 2024, let me know down in the comments. Also, if there's something that you are really anticipating coming out in 2025, also leave that down in the comments, because I am completely 100% oblivious to anything that is a new release that is coming out in 2025. So thanks so much for watching this video, and good luck with all of your reading in 2025. Bye!